Good morning, good afternoon, our friends in outside of US and Europe and other places. Welcome to the DataON Virtual Academy. This is the second webinar we have for the series for DataON Virtual Academy. Today, we want to share the topic of Azure Stack HCI and really drill down a little bit about the solution and all the features and capabilities. The title of this webinar today is Microsoft's Best Kept Secret. Azure Stack HCI is a visionary HCI that you probably already have. It's funny, I say it and I do that in a lot of events. I go to a lot of events and I always ask the question, do you know that if you have a Windows Server data center license, you essentially have Azure Stack HCI already integrated into your solution? And a lot of people don't know that. So today we'll share what that is and the feature and capability. We have two really great speakers today to share the content with us today. We have Henry Fu, Technical Program Manager from DataON. Henry really is the technical brain at DataON. He has a lot of knowledge about what we do and all the technologies. We also have Todd Christ from Intel. I've been working with Todd for the last couple of years. Incredible architect and solution architect, really knows the technology well. So our goal is to share these capability feature with you today, and hopefully at the end of the day, you could take away exactly what Azure Stack HCI is and how can you implement it into the real world. Housekeeping, make sure you're muted and feel free to ask questions as we go, and we'll try to answer these questions as much as we can. If you need to reach us, we have our Twitter accounts listed. Feel free to connect us via Twitter, and we're happy to respond to those questions. So without further ado, my name is Howard Lowe, and I like to kind of set this webinar up with our content. Is really a high-level direction is a hybrid cloud journey. I've been talking about a journey for the last 6 months. Really, the overarching direction is that in our world, we are seeing this environment as a hybrid cloud for our IT customers. And really, Azure is really one of the key technologies that's driving this hybrid cloud evolution and taking us down this journey. As customer like yourself, IT customers, it's important as you go down and evaluate this concept hybrid cloud and the ACI journey, what are the key aspect of decision you need to make? And these are not in particular orders, but these are important decision-making factors that you need to look at. Number one is really looking at how your legacy application and infrastructure really could integrate into the newer version of software-defined storage, software-defined networking, software-defined data center, and how these apps, whether or not it's Oracle's or other apps, are seamlessly integrated into this environment. And having a good plan around that is very important. Second is really understanding how your application resides, right? Sometimes it's good to have your application reside in the cloud, but sometimes it's critical to make sure the application are more efficient if it's on-premise. So understanding what are the decision factors of putting which application on the cloud and on-premise really is a hybrid cloud decision, because you're trying to pick the best of two worlds for your enterprise and for your application. The third is you'll see consolidation happening across with the aging infrastructure and legacy infrastructure, but how are these consolidations deliver the best security in terms of making sure your infrastructure has the right technology in place for security and data governance? Those are important decision factors as you look at the new technology coming in. So making sure security is coming in front of your decision factor is very important. How do you modernize your apps? Clearly, a major trend today is Kubernetes and containers. And I know Azure for sure is supporting Kubernetes and container, and there's absolutely a major trend as continue app developer looking at, is a VM the best way to do it, or do we use container to have it anywhere, right? So those decision factors in terms of container Kubernetes will also help drive your cloud and hybrid cloud strategy. Lastly is how do you make sure that you can deliver the hybrid cloud? What are the solutions out there? There's a lot of choices out there, but we do believe Azure, Microsoft Azure has that capability and really has delivered that feature across the board as they continue to evolve and develop into a really robust architecture. So a number to share with you, just to put into perspective, in terms of the size of the market, hyper-converged infrastructure really has been a growing market for the last 10 years. It's a $12 billion dollar market size, which is incredible, led by many pioneers in the marketplace. And Microsoft continued to shine in that market as well. Kubernetes container is an $8.2 billion market by 2025. And you see many of the industry decision makers are really evaluating hybrid cloud as a direction for their infrastructure and enterprises, over 90%. Data continue to grow to incredible number, zettabyte number, and you'll see that new apps are really developed to really take advantage of container and everything else across the world. So a lot of numbers out there, but really shows a direction and really a trend, a market trend that you see that people are really looking at the solutions. It's important to, when you look at this whole picture, how to really build your hybrid cloud roadmap, right? We believe there are a couple components. Number one is the concept of Azure Arc hybrid cloud services. Microsoft introduced the concept of Azure Arc in Ignite last year, and it's very incredible what that concept really does. It's having a layer of management platform that allows you to connect into a multi-cloud environment, whether it's Azure, Google, or Amazon. You have the ability to take these services and you won't be boxed into one specific cloud services. So Azure Arc allows you to have that management layer to cloud into multi-cloud platform. At the same time, from a management perspective, Azure Arc also is a management platform that allows you to connect to multiple type of solution infrastructure, whether or not it's cloud infrastructure, whether or not it's on-premises Azure Stack HCI infrastructure, whether or not it's your edge, where you have multiple remote offices and across the world, you have the ability to visualize and see all that services in a single pane of glass, right? So having that layer of Azure Arc is really a game changer to make sure you have these multi-cloud, multi-infrastructure environment. More importantly, making sure the data governance, the backup, the security, the DR are really in place to take advantage of all these applications, infrastructure, is a decision you have to make. And DataON, from our businesses and capability, our goal is to help our customer make the right decision across the infrastructure you're going to build for on-premises with Azure Stack HCI, for the edge, and also looking at backup security as a complete infrastructure to help you guys design that solution for the future. Really, that solution that today we talked about a lot is Azure Stack HCI, and today you'll really hear a lot about what that is. I won't go into the detail, but really understanding what is the concept of Azure Stack HCI. Today is part of Windows Server 2019-2016 Data Center Edition, so you have this capability built in already. I'm sure Henry and also Todd will go into detail about this. Lastly, I think it's important to know that this is not a new technology. This technology is mainstream. Today, Microsoft already said there's 30,000 cluster enabled with Azure Stack HCI. Just DataON alone, you could see that we have many customers that have deployed, embraced Azure Stack HCI as their production workload for on-premises, replacing their SANs, replacing their standalone servers, replacing their virtualization from VMware to Hyper-V. We have customers in multiple sector verticals, different applications, SQLs, backup, VDI. So you can see the proliferation of HCI, especially Azure Stack HCI, really has been taking place for the last couple of years, and DataON continue to work with our partners and also working with our customer to introduce that solution to you guys, so you guys can take advantage of the technology. So with that set up, I'd like to pass the presentation to Todd Christ, and who will talk to you more about Intel, how Intel really impacts this technology.
Great, thanks, Howard. I appreciate it. Again, just reintroduce myself. My name is Todd Christ. I am a senior solutions architect at Intel. I work in our cloud and enterprise solutions group. And I work primarily on Microsoft infrastructure and how Intel can help optimize those solutions, not only from hardware, but from a software perspective with each of our partners. So everybody knows Intel as making CPUs. There's nothing new about that. We have our second generation Intel Xeon scalable processors. That was codenamed Cascade Lake that we launched in 2019. But we also have some newer technologies that partner up with these second generation Intel Xeons. We have the Intel Optane SSDs, which we've had for a couple of years, that gives you super high endurance, great throughput. It gives you that assurance that whenever you are implementing a very robust cache layer that those Optane SSDs will be there to help solidify the data transfers. We have Intel Optane persistent memory, which was new with our second-gen Xeon scalable processors. This gives you the capability to be able to utilize storage or memory in that same DDR4 slot that your customers and partners are used to seeing. It gives you more capacity and gives you more capability in the platform, and we'll talk about that in the upcoming slides. And lastly, we also have our the solid-state drives for data centers, whether they're NVMe, SATA. Really gives you a good, robust solution for storage capacity and also for throughput. So as we work with DataON for optimizing these solutions, we put together a mix of each of these hardware technologies together to make the best platform available for you as a customer and help deliver a really solid TCO for you to be able to work forward on. So let's talk a little bit about Azure Stack HCI and how it works with Intel Optane technology. There's three main veins that we take a look at how we can optimize things, not only from a processing perspective, right? Everybody's used to just saying, let's just throw more processors at it. Intel has worked with DataON and with Microsoft for many years now to really help optimize the entire data path and I/O stream. The first option is to increase your caching speed. As I had mentioned on the previous slide, our Intel Optane SSDs give you that high endurance, whether it's 30 drive writes per day or 60 drive writes per day. You have a choice through that. It gives you a really solid, robust cache layer. So if you're doing a hybrid solution or if you're doing a SATA-based solution, it really gives you a very robust cache tier to be able to do your data manipulations inside of your hyper-converged infrastructure at a great pace. So we always start with a really good, robust storage subsystem utilizing the Optane SSDs. Option two is for those customers that need increased memory. The huge benefit with the Intel Optane persistent memory is you're able to expand your memory footprint per platform. So if you have really memory-intensive type applications, you can put this memory inside of your actual platform that fits right in the DDR4 slots. So you can enable what we call memory mode, and it gives you capacity to go anywhere from 1 terabyte up to 4.5 terabytes per CPU, depending on which processor you have in the platform. And in option three, we look to increase both bandwidth and memory. And this is a really interesting feature. It's something we've worked with Microsoft over the past couple of years and did some benchmarking records at Microsoft Ignite a couple years ago. And in this case, we're taking the Intel Optane persistent memory and we're setting it up in dual modes. So part of that memory is exposed as actual memory that's available to the operating system, and the other parts of the Optane persistent memory is actually set as persistent storage. So it takes place of that Optane SSD and kind of amplifies it because you're now running at DDR4 speeds instead of at the NVMe or PCIe bus. So it really helps to increase bandwidth and gives you the capacity for memory. And this can be really interesting as a use case for some customers that are constrained with number of PCIe lanes. You have lots of extra components inside your platform. And this is a great model for SQL Server type applications. You can put all your logging onto your persistent memory and get ultra-fast data reads and writes back and forth from that the persistent memory model. So next we're going to take a look at one of these instances, right? We had talked about option two is increasing your available memory. And whenever you're able to put persistent memory into the platform, it changes a couple of things. One thing that Intel has really kept in mind is delivering not only solid performance for the customer, but delivering a good TCO model as well. So, and because that's really what matters, at the end of the day is how much are you paying for this? How much are you paying for your compute? How are these things working? So whenever you implement a platform that has, our second-gen Intel Xeon scalable processor, you can add in the Intel Optane persistent memory. And based on the current cost models, you can roughly put 512 gigabytes of Intel Optane persistent memory in the same price model and space as the 384 gigs of DDR4. So you're essentially getting 33% more memory for relatively the same cost. And what does that mean? That means you have added capacity to be able to add more VMs, be able to do basically more work per platform. And you'll notice that we still have a very robust storage scenario. We have our cache tier with our Intel Optane SSDs, and we have a capacity tier, whether you're using Intel SATA with a 3D NAND or the QLC SSDs in the data center. And this is a study that we did last year whenever we launched the persistent memory, and this gives you a little bit more detail on how you get that TCO and lowers your cost per VM. As I talked about on the previous slide, you're able to take this standard system you would have a year before without persistent memory that would have the 384 gigabytes of DRAM. You get about 41 VMs per node. We've done benchmarking on this. It's available on the Intel.com website. We found that we can actually put 36% more VMs per node. So if you think about that in a hyper-converged infrastructure, you're getting 36 more VMs per node, and if you have Azure Stack HCI, that's anywhere from 2 to 16 nodes. So that's a tremendous amount of VMs that you can be adding into your platform. The nice thing is that it also helps to drive down your estimated hardware cost up to 24%. So not only are you getting more work done in the platform, you're also able to lower that hardware cost and ultimately lower the cost per VM. So you're able to go from 41 VMs per node to 56 VMs per node, which is pretty tremendous. And again, we're not trying to just say, hey, buy Intel because it's going to be fast, it's going to be the best thing for you. We take into consideration that we have a valid TCO model for our customers, and we work with DataON and we work with Microsoft to be able to say, hey, there's something more than just the performance here. It really hits people's wallets. We need to make sure that the CIOs, the CTOs are really happy with the solution they get, and they can take what they used to have before that maybe took 15 or 20 servers and be able to compartmentalize this into 4 to 6 servers in a new modern hyper-converged infrastructure. And how do we do this? So we have a project at Intel. It's called Intel Select Solutions, and it works around these similar premises that I've been talking about over the past couple of slides. It's not only taking the best CPU for the model, it's also taking the right memory sizing, the right speeds, taking the right storage subsystem, and also tuning the network. So we take all of these components and put them together. We test them in our labs. We do very stringent testing on these and make sure it's repeatable, something that our partners can repeat as well. And we'll hand them off to DataON and say, hey, here's what we found is our Intel Select solution for Azure Stack HCI. We've simplified it. We made the evaluation much simpler. We've worked with Microsoft for a year or two before that in plans of having the new hardware that's available. We make things that are fast and easy to deploy, and then we optimize on the workloads. And something you'll hear more from Henry as we move forward is there's different use cases for Azure Stack HCI. It used to just be storage. Now they look at things like VDI, Virtualized SQL Server. Even Kubernetes is one of the newest one they just launched. So the nice thing with Intel Select Solutions is that we partner with DataON and really help them achieve the right performance levels at the right TCO models. This is all verified by Intel on the back end. DataON compares their data with our data, and then we get approvals, and they're able to move forward with the brand. So with that, I'm going to hand this off to Henry, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, Todd. Yeah, my name is Henry Fu. I'm the Technical Program Manager at DataON, and today I'm going to be talking to you about hyperconverged infrastructure. And so to start with that, what is HCI? And so the HCI is really the combination of the compute, storage, and networking together in a single physical appliance. So what you see in the diagram below in the traditional, you'll see your servers connecting to network switch and then also connecting to fiber channel switches to get to access to the storage. And things have improved from there where you do a convergent solution where you basically have like iSCSI or fiber channel over Ethernet, and you basically combine the switching for your network and your storage. But now with hyper-converged infrastructure, now you're basically combining the storage with the servers, with the storage being inside the servers, and that you have great performance, simpler deployment, and easy provisioning, and it basically just managing a set of servers. So Microsoft Azure Stack HCI basically is a portfolio, a part of the portfolio of Azure Stack. So what you see here are the Azure Stack Edge, Azure Stack HCI, and Azure Stack Hub. And a couple of years ago, basically, Azure Stack was the only component, which is now called Azure Stack Hub. And basically, Azure Stack Hub is bringing the cloud down to your environment, and that your users and the interface is Azure. Basically, it looks like an Azure portal. You provision VMs like if you're in Azure. So that's the old Azure Stack. What Microsoft has done is that they've broadened that portfolio, and now you have Azure Stack Edge, which is a cloud managed appliance that you actually manage this Microsoft appliance at the edge using Azure. And then now today we're going to be talking about Azure Stack HCI, which is the hyper-converged solution. So as we go down to the next slide here, this is your legacy 3-tier type of infrastructure where you have switches, network appliance, hypervisor, storage fabric, and SAN and NAS. And basically what Azure Stack HCI does for you is to collapse that environment. So basically you have the compute and the storage together, and then using software-defined networking and software-defined storage, you manage that environment through Windows software. And one of the things about DataON and Microsoft Azure Stack HCI is that as Howard has mentioned, this technology is gaining traction. Microsoft is in the visionary stage, and we expect a lot of improvements and updates and as we keep moving forward. And that basically this is something that Microsoft is investing heavily into to keep improving on this product. So we received the Better Choice Award, or Microsoft earned it, and basically this is the technology that we are seeing a lot of gaining a lot of traction here. So moving forward, what is Azure Stack HCI now? Let's drill down a little deeper, and that basically is Windows Server 2019. And it's a combination of Hyper-V, which has been around for over a decade, now with software-defined storage, which is the storage spaces direct. That's the component that came in Windows 2016, and also software-defined networking. So those are the three components for the base of this. Then you use Windows Admin Center as a management platform where we have a must extension. So basically you leverage Windows Admin Center to manage your HCI. And then at the bottom of this is DataON with our validated hardware. And basically, as what Todd mentioned, is the amount of testing that they do and we also do to meet the requirements that Microsoft has as to what is considered certified hardware. So those are the main components of the Azure Stack HCI solution. Why, I guess. Now, why do you want to do this? basically it's that consolidation with the industry standard hardware. And basically you buy what you need, but you can continue to grow, and where I will talk about later. And Windows Server 2019 Datacenter license is all you need is to run Azure Stack HCI, which is basically to say that unlike other Azure options where you basically pay for usage as a usage model, this is you probably have Windows Data Center licenses today for your VMs already. You can leverage that license for Azure Stack HCI. So you see all the components I mentioned previously: software-defined compute Hyper-V, software-defined storage, which is Storage Spaces Direct, and then the software-defined networking. And the Azure Stack HCI still will give you the unlimited Windows Server guest licenses and the unlimited Windows and Linux containers. And then along with that, you will have hybrid capabilities, especially with using the Windows Admin Center. So Windows Admin Center can give you the ability to manage your on-premise physical and virtual, and also manage Azure IaaS. And then the other things that you can do with Admin Center is set up Azure Cloud Witness, set up Azure Monitor, and Azure Site Recovery. And I'll dig a little bit deeper in a few slides from here. Simple operation. So Windows Admin Center is the key component that they see as the future to manage the Azure Stack HCI. It's browser-based, extensible plugin where you have extension like ours with Must, agentless. There's nothing to install in the guest OS because the component is really running PowerShell commands and sending data back to the browser, and then it's a free software to include in your tooling kit. So one of the things with Azure Stack HCI is that they see it as a hybrid cloud solution, and that basically you're extending your on-premise into Azure, and you can also centrally manage from Azure. So there are a lot of pieces that are available today for Azure Stack HCI: Azure Site Recovery, Azure Backup, and Storage Replica. And then there's other ones that you might want to, if you want to move some files into the cloud but still keep the hot ones local, then Azure File Sync is a good solution. You can leverage Cloud Witness for to basically have a 2-node or 4-node solution and just use Azure as the witness instead of a local server. Networking, you can do the network adapter, so then you can connect to Azure as like a VPN. And there's a whole bunch of other ones that are extending on the premise. But then you can also do the centrally managed from Azure, where you have Azure Security Center, Azure Monitor, Azure Update Management. So there are a lot of tools that you can use, especially the one that's new, and as what Howard mentioned, Azure Arc, where you basically install an agent on each VM, and the vision is basically to wherever your Windows operating system lives, whether it's on-premise or some other location, you can manage all of it through Azure Arc. So we can go a little bit deeper into the Storage Spaces Direct. So Storage Spaces Direct is leveraging industry standard servers with internal drives. And what you would do with these servers is that you will be clustering them as just like a regular failover cluster, but with the additional feature of storage, software-defined storage, and what it will do is pool that storage as if it's all one giant pool of storage. And from there, what you would do is create volumes. And these volumes are then presented to the servers, either if it's a SMB file shares, like a scale-out file server, or in the hyper-converged scenario, basically you put the VMs on each of the servers for your compute and leverage the storage that's in those volumes, which are then under with the storage pool underneath. So the great thing about the Storage Spaces Direct is the scalability and expansion. So you can start with the 2 nodes, and you can grow up to 16 nodes and up to 400 drives, up to 4 petabytes of raw storage per cluster. And you can add additional servers to scale out, add drives to scale up, and then cluster automatically will automatically rebalance itself with the storage. And then if you add more drives, the pool will automatically absorb those drives and rebalance the storage. And basically, it's all running on Ethernet fabric. And so what I can show you is the drive and the cache type of configuration. So typically, we see type of drives like SSDs and standard SATA SSDs and hard drives. With Storage Spaces Direct, you can also use NVMe drives, so that you get the better performance of the all-flash configuration. And then also, as Todd mentioned, you could use persistent memory. So that's the new component that you can from Intel that you can leverage the Optane persistent memory and to get even greater performance, as they did with the Ignite test that they did. And well, how is that, from a performance latency perspective? You can see that, the difference between the latency for each types of media. So from a deployment possibilities, there are basically the SSDs, NVMe, and hard drives, or the typical scenarios. So you basically have capacity, and then you can add cache to the capacity. You can also add 2 types of capacity with cache in front. So as I said, with one, there's no cache with just SSDs or NVMe's. Or you can do with cache in another type of media, such as another NVMe, another hard drive, or another SSD. With 3, basically, you have one type of cache, and then you can have 2 types that provide different type of capacity. So I'll show you that in the next slide. So you can do, this is a very typical scenario for us, NVMe for capacity, which we would use Intel P4510s as the drive for all flat type of configuration. Or you can do NVMe with SSDs behind it, so it's still all flash, just different type of drives. Or you can do all flat SSDs. But then there are other ones where you can do NVMe over NVMe. So in the case of something like an Intel Optane SSD, you could put that in the front and then use Intel QLC drives, which is the new drives with a high density as the capacity drives. In the hybrid configurations, you could have Intel NVMe in the front, like the Intel P4610s, and then hard drives for additional capacity. Or you can have it with SSDs or a mixture. So what we have done before is NVMe with P4610s, and then SSD with Intel S4510s, and then hard drives for additional capacity. So the idea is that you can grow for your core data center, basically either by adding servers or adding drives from 4 to 16 nodes, where you can host thousands of VMs, or you can do a ROBO or edge deployment, which is just 2 or 3 nodes, either two-way mirror, three-way mirror, or what they have is a nested resiliency, and basically to give you more resiliency for the storage. And so those are all from 2 to 16 is all possible. And then for any of the 2 nodes especially, is that you definitely will need some type of witness to make sure you don't have a split brain scenario where if there's a severage of network between the 2 nodes, it doesn't know which one is really the master, and you don't want data corruption. So basically, the idea is that you have a witness, and a witness in the Microsoft terms is really a tiny file that's a log file. Basically, both nodes will have access to that file, and so you could either do a file share witness, which would be most likely a local file share in your data center, and make it a share, and then both nodes will have access to that file. Or you can do a cloud witness if you have some edge scenario where you don't want to have another machine to do a file share. And so that gives you the ability to just leverage the internet and Azure as a cloud witness. Then you have the USB witness, which for certain types of router switch where it has SMB3 capability, you can plug in a USB drive as the storage and share that out to your cluster nodes, and so that becomes a witness. And as mentioned earlier, basically from a performance perspective, Storage Review did our testing with Microsoft Azure Stack HCI using DataON servers and Intel drives, and their conclusion was the fastest mid-market 4-node HCI cluster they have ever seen. And encourage you to take a look at that article. And one of the last things before handing back to Howard is, as I mentioned earlier with Windows Admin Center, we have an extension called Must, and basically gives you the ability to have a dashboard of your HCI environment for your nodes and cluster utilization. With the main feature it has compared to the standard Windows Admin Center without the extension is that it gives you the ability to see your disk mapping exact slot and which drives are connected to which slot. And also you leverages the Microsoft alert services, and so that you can receive email alerts for any type of faults that Microsoft detects. And in addition to that, we also have the capability leveraging Azure is the call home service. So whereas the alert services will alert your admins to any type of events, call home services will alert DataON if there are any type of physical disk type of events that you want data on to take an action on. And so that's an additional feature that we provide above and beyond the standard admin center tooling. So let's see here, partnering with DataON. So let me hand it back to Howard.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for going through very detail about the offering, the technology, Microsoft Azure Stack HCI, and the capability and the technology that Intel bring into the stack with Optane technology, Optane SSD, NVMe, the Xeon second generation processor. All these components are the foundation building blocks for this technology. And more importantly, Microsoft really is leading edge in terms of taking these technology and making it available for the solution and taking advantage of the solution using all NVMe. Henry mentioned NVMe, I think, is one of the key drivers for a lot of our customers looking at NVMe as a media, but really as a storage plus a performance generating technology, where if they have an all-flash solution NVMe, it's much more performance driven compared to a standard SSD because of architecture. But more importantly, we have the reliability and capability of the Intel across to make sure it's the best technology around. I think today what we did is really drill down one level about the foundational building blocks and architecture of Microsoft Azure Stack HCI. But more importantly, there's a lot more detail to it, right? Azure Stack HCI, just a software-defined storage, have like 400 plus features. There's a lot of articles, technology, video available. If you guys go to DataON, DataOnStorage.com, looking at the resources, we have all these resources available for you to look at. We have a lot of customer use cases. We have a lot of designs that's optimized for different workloads, whether or not is a standard replacement, edge, ROBO deployment, a SQL. All these are available in our website. And if you have any questions, and really feel free to reach out to us. And we're happy to have a meeting with you guys to kind of share that technology. For me, the goal is, our job is to help our customer go through this journey of on-premises to hypercloud to cloud. And we really do believe hypercloud is a direction with all the capability and features. And we have customers that's at different phases of their journey, right? And it's okay. Whatever phases the journey you are at today, our goal is to share with you knowledge and capability to help you continue that journey that's right for you as a customer. Knowledge is king, making sure you know that technology is available, making sure you can leverage all the features and services that's available today in Azure. It's the key for you to make the right decision as you go through this hybrid cloud roadmap. In conclusion, I think it's important to understand DataON is really exclusively focused on Microsoft, and we have 30 years experience working with our customers. We're absolutely committed to the technology both offered by Microsoft and Intel as our technology partner, and we're definitely a gold and platinum partner for Intel, and making sure that technology we bring to market with our partners are the right technology for you. We have experience with 150 petabytes of storage deployed. We work with our partner and customer to validate our solution, but more importantly, we want to add values to make sure you have the right infrastructure management platform, monitoring platform to make sure your infrastructure is sound. We will have more of these kind of sessions moving forward. In the next session, you'll see that we have done Academy on Hybrid Cloud. We have session on ACI. We have session that are coming up that will talk about security and backup. So please keep monitoring our virtual academy. Make sure that you understand all the new technology and content we'll bring to market or bring to you to make sure you understand, and make sure that you guys are taking this challenging time with all of us to learn and to take in the knowledge. So when we're all free to go and deploy, you're ready to make the right decisions. Thank you for attending this webinar. I appreciate your time. We'll open up for questions. Anything you'd like to add, Todd?
No, I appreciate the time that we were able to share with everyone today. Again, check out DataON's website, also the Intel.com website, and check out the Intel Select solution for Azure Stack HCI.
Thank you very much, Todd. Thank you, Henry, for a detailed presentation. We look forward to all of you to join our next virtual Academy sessions, and we'll be talking more in depth about the validation, the testing, and about security and backup, everything surrounding Microsoft and the journey to HyperCloud. Thank you and have a great day.